Explosive announcement there from the Indian Home Minister in the Parliament only an hour ago. It's hard to underscore exactly how extraordinary today's announcement is. It goes to the heart of an article of faith, a legal article of faith between the Indian government and the people of Kashmir back in 1950 when India's constitution was being written, which granted Kashmir certain special privileges in exchange of agreeing to be part of the Indian territory. Now, under this article, which has been revoked today, the state was allowed its own constitution, its separate flag, and independence over all matters except foreign affairs, defense, and communications. But most crucially, this article allowed Kashmir to define the state's permanent residents, and only these permanent residents had certain special privileges. For example, in Kashmir, only people who have permanent residency can buy property. Now, the removal of this article means pretty much anyone from anywhere in India could go into Kashmir, buy property, and become residents. Now, why is that important? Kashmir is the only Muslim majority state in the country. With the removal of this article, as many members in the opposition are pointing out today in Parliament and elsewhere, this gives the government room to entirely change the demographics of a state that has been controversial for so many years, like you mentioned, the insurgencies and things like that. Now, another announcement that the Home Minister made this morning is the division of the state. So the state of Jammu and Kashmir will be divided into two, with the territory of Ladakh in the Himalayas being a separate territory and the territory of Jammu and Kashmir being a separate territory. Now, none of these two territories will have full statehood. A union territory means that they will be governed directly by the central government presided over currently by Prime Minister Modi. So really explosive announcement. We saw raucous scenes in the parliament, which are continuing even as we speak. And the manner in which the government has pushed these resolutions through. Late last night, a complete communication blackout was issued in Kashmir of the kind that we haven't seen in decades. This wasn't just snapping off internet services. It was snapping off cable television, of landline services. So we aren't actually hearing very much from the Kashmiri people themselves, but we do know that the Indian government has flown at least 35,000 additional troops into the valley, taking the final number up to over 100,000 troops at the moment. So really extraordinarily important announcement.
And you've talked there about the sort of explosive response you saw in India's parliament, but what have been the reactions elsewhere in the country to this move?
Well, like I said, we've heard from all over the country except for Kashmir itself. We really don't know how the Kashmiri people themselves are reacting to this. There's a special order in place which bans assembly of a group of people on the streets of Kashmir right now. But we have heard from two of the most important political representatives in Kashmir. They've managed to communicate the last two chief ministers. One of them, Mehbooba Mufti, who was the last chief minister of Kashmir, has called this the darkest day in Indian democracy. Omar Abdullah, who was the chief minister before her, has said that the government is resorting to stealth and deceit. He's called it a total betrayal of the Indian government because representatives in Kashmir were told only 10 days ago by the representative of the Indian government there, the lieutenant governor, that they had no plans to remove this article. So from the two representatives in Kashmir that we have heard so far, complete opposition. But surprisingly, within the opposition in parliament, there are many parties who are supporting the government. Of course, the main opposition party, which is the Congress, continues to stand in opposition.